Chapter 23 Might of the Arche. Captain Baron moves his small caravan of guardsmen and captive Sakari through the highlands north of Ramush. This area has been less affected by the flooding, but the earthquakes and tremors have caused extensive rock slides, and many paths are now blocked to travel. The city of Demanesy lies only another day ahead, but clearing boulders from their way will make the journey at least twice as long. "We are close," Baron says. "Continue clearing the road so that we may proceed." The Sakari curse under their breath, waiting for the perfect opportunity to kill the humans and escape. Most of their injuries have healed, but escape in this narrow pass without casualties is unlikely. Nasria urges his fellows to patience. "If you would get off your horse and help us for a change, we would move much faster," Bolza growls, lifting a large boulder and throwing it down the steep embankment. "The captives held in Levant were all killed by the Yazata," Baron says, unaware that Refugio managed to save Shayatina. "That makes you lot the last of your kind in this world. If you do not wish to become extinct, you will stop complaining and work harder." Bolza looks to Anazria, begging their de facto leader for permission to kill the humans. Anazria shakes his head slowly. With his lowly upbringing and abilities stemming from stealing from others stronger than himself, Anazria has developed a level of patience that few Sakari share. Anazria was born in the heart of Narain, a sprawling Sakari city where power determined one's worth. He came from a lowly upbringing, raised by a single parent in a decrepit district, plagued by poverty and despair. His childhood was marked by constant struggles for survival, enduring hunger and deprivation that only fueled a desire for a better life. In Narain, the noble class reigned supreme, enjoying luxurious lives, while the less fortunate were marginalized and treated as outcasts. Anazria and his parent were among those who suffered under the oppressive rule of the nobility. The constant disdain and discrimination he faced from the upper echelons of society only fueled his growing resentment and anger. Anazria's childhood was a constant struggle, marked by poverty, oppression, and an unyielding desire for a better life. It was within the depths of these hardships that he developed a steely determination, honed his observation skills, and nurtured his hunger for power, a hunger that would eventually drive him to make fateful choices in his pursuit of strength and liberation. As a youth, Anazria often took to exploring the winding alleyways and hidden nooks of the city. To escape the harsh reality of his surroundings, Anazria often sought refuge in the hidden corners of the city, where the outcasts and rebels gathered. It was in these underground circles that he first encountered the dark arts and secrets that lay beyond the realm of societal norms. Anazria became fascinated by this forbidden knowledge, understanding that power could be obtained through means other than birthright or privilege. Driven by this thirst for power and vengeance against the nobility who had oppressed him, Anazria delved deeper into the study of dark magic and combat techniques. Among the labyrinthine streets, he discovered a secret haven, a forgotten library hidden beneath an abandoned temple. The library, neglected and in disarray, contained dusty tomes and ancient scrolls filled with forgotten knowledge and arcane secrets. It was within this hidden library that Anazria's thirst for knowledge was awakened. He spent hours poring over the pages, absorbing the forbidden lore and ancient wisdom that lay within. The musty smell of aged parchment and the flickering candlelight became his companions as he devoured the writings of long-gone scholars and magicians. He sought out elusive mentors, learning from renegade sorcerers and battle-hardened warriors who had turned their backs on the system. In addition to his hunger for knowledge, Anazria possessed a natural affinity for observation and mimicry. He would often perch atop rooftops or find hiding spots where he could observe the elite of Narain going about their lives. From these vantage points, he studied their mannerisms, their speech patterns, and the way they carried themselves with an air of entitlement. Anazria became adept at imitating the nobles, both in their physical appearance and their demeanor. He observed their extravagant clothing and jewelry, and with careful attention to detail, He fashioned replicas from discarded materials. Although the imitations were crude, they allowed Anazria to experience fleeting moments of what it felt like to be someone of higher status. Despite the hardships he faced, Anazria never let go of his dreams. He spent countless nights gazing at the glittering lights of the noble districts, promising himself that one day he would ascend from the shadows and take his rightful place among the powerful. These dreams fueled his determination and provided a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness of his surroundings. As he grew older, Anazria sought out odd jobs and tasks within the city to earn meager coin. He took on menial work such as delivering messages, cleaning the homes of the affluent, or assisting with the unloading of cargo at the bustling docks. These experiences exposed him to different parts of the city, broadening his understanding of Nahrain's intricate social fabric. Through his tireless study of the arcane, Anazria discovered a method of stealing power from others. He learned how to harness the energy released upon the death of another being, absorbing their essence and incorporating it into his own being. This discovery provided a glimmer of hope for him, a means to rise above his disadvantaged background and challenge the ruling class. Motivated by his desperation and a burning desire to rise above his circumstances, Anazria continued studying his dark arts and forbidden knowledge in secret. He sought to acquire strength by any means necessary, even if it meant stealing it from others. Through tireless dedication, he honed his combat skills, becoming proficient in various forms of weaponry, and developing a keen understanding of ancient magic. It was during his jobs that Anazria also witnessed the corrupt practices of the nobility. He saw them exploit their positions of power, extorting money from merchants and taking advantage of the vulnerable. Each encounter fueled his determination to rise above the system that had oppressed him for so long. Anazria's first taste of stealing powers came when he witnessed a powerful Sakari engaging in combat with a weaker adversary. Seizing the opportunity, he ambushed the distracted noble, swiftly ending his life and absorbing his fading essence. As the stolen power coursed through his veins, Anazria felt a surge of newfound strength, his own abilities bolstered by the stolen energy. But Anazria was far from some hero of justice or liberator. In addition to killing the noble and stealing his power, he also slew the noble's weakened opponent, and added his meager strength to his own. Anazria's second attempt at stealing power was a risky endeavor. He targeted a lesser-known Sakari, an overconfident member of the noble class who believed himself invincible. Using his newly acquired combat skills and deceptive tactics, Anazria struck swiftly, overpowering and ultimately slaying his opponent. As the defeated noble's life force dissipated, Anazria channeled its essence, feeling a surge of strength and dark energy flowing into his veins. Emboldened by his success, Anazria continued down a dark and treacherous path. He targeted those who underestimated his potential, exploiting their weaknesses and eliminating them one by one. With each victory, his stolen powers grew, and he became more skilled at absorbing the energy of his fallen foes. The taste of stolen power was intoxicating, and Anazria became relentless in its pursuit. He continued to seek out powerful adversaries, cunningly choosing his targets and striking when they were the most vulnerable. Each victory fueled his growing confidence and bolstered his stolen powers, making him a force to be reckoned with. Soon he began to crave the strength of those whom he had previously aligned and taught him in the past. Anazria hunted down and murdered each and every scholar, magician, and teacher he could find, in order to add their knowledge and power to his own. However, Anazria's audacious acts did not go unnoticed for long. The city's authorities became increasingly alarmed by the rise in unexpected deaths and missing persons. A dedicated task force was assembled, consisting of experienced investigators and elite enforcers, with a single purpose to apprehend the elusive thief who had been targeting scholars, magicians, and warriors. As Anazria's actions escalated, the authorities closed in on him. Using their knowledge of his tactics and patterns, they tracked him relentlessly, narrowing the gap between hunter and prey. Finally, after a series of close calls and near misses, and Osria found himself surrounded by the formidable military enforcers. Overwhelmed and outnumbered, Osria was captured and brought before the ruling council. His crimes against his own kind were deemed abhorrent and unforgivable. The council recognized his potential despite his morally reprehensible actions. Instead of delivering immediate punishment, they decided to sentence Osria to military conscription, seeing an opportunity to redeem his skills through disciplined service to the Nahrain military under the command of Captain Rivius. "Our time nears," Osria whispers to his cohort. "Just wait a little longer. Soon, all this world will be ours. It will not be the spoiled elites like Inyana, Hui, or Yamura that rule, but those of us whom the elites spat upon and thought of as nothing more than fodder. Now they are all gone and only we remain. That cannot be anything other than the work of destiny. This world is destined to belong to us." "Do you really believe all that?" Bolza asks. And Osria grins. "Every power I've ever needed was brought before me like an offering. Surely I must have some kind of divine guidance. Perhaps I am destined to take the powers of everyone, to become a god in my own right." Bolza shrinks back, slightly unnerved by the criminal's ambition. "Weren't you going to be executed if the scouting party hadn't brought you along?" "Yet they did bring me along, and I was not executed. I gained even more power on the battlefield, became far stronger than I ever was before. Those who imprisoned me were dead, and I remained free. How can I not believe in a greater destiny set before me?" Along the Uzal River, the Magog has followed the coast, searching for life to extinguish. The cities of Ramash and Nibiru were easily eliminated by the creature of sin. The Magog begins to feel disappointed by the lack of humans to kill, and worries that it has moved too quickly, unable to savor their deaths. The few survivors that it has encountered have been pathetic and barely clinging to life, after surviving the numerous natural disasters plaguing the world after its release. It begins to sense a higher concentration of life to the north, and quickly speeds up following the river towards the city of Dmanisi. Protected from the rising waters by its much higher elevation, the city of Dmanisi is relatively untouched by the massive death toll that has swept through its neighboring cities and villages. With a population of just under 2,000, the city is a modest size, with a sustainable forest-based economy. Eating many different fruits from the trees and hunting game that calls the forest home, as well as harvesting lumber for many purposes, Dmanisi has little need of interaction with neighboring villages or cities. Normally, the king of Dmanisi would never even think to offer one of his daughters to an outsider, but the promise of gaining powerful Sakari warriors is too enticing to pass up. King Enmengal thirsts for expansion and believes that Dmanisi has too much potential to be hidden away in the forest forever. He takes his great-great-grandfather Enmenlu as inspiration, the man who first raised the Dmanisi army and destroyed the neighboring Biarma peoples, annexing their lands into his own territory and greatly expanding the Dmanisi range. "What is that?" a child asks, pointing to the hovering humanoid figure high in the sky. The Magog licks its lips and descends into Dmanisi and into slaughter. No one is spared the wrath of the destroyer of mankind. It sought to spread chaos and devastation beyond the confines of the battleground, to unleash its wrath upon the innocent and defenseless. With unparalleled speed, the Magog descended upon the unsuspecting city like a vengeful storm. Its bladed limbs slashed through the air, leaving trails of dark energy in its wake. Buildings crumbled under its relentless assault, reduced to piles of rubble and dust. The once vibrant streets now echoed with the haunting cries of terror and despair. The denizens of Dmanisi, caught off guard by the sudden onslaught, scattered in all directions, seeking refuge wherever they could. Panic gripped their hearts as they witnessed the unyielding might of the Magog. Mothers clutched their children close, praying for a miracle amidst the chaos. The The city's defenders, though valiant, were hopelessly outmatched, their efforts to protect their home rendered futile. The Magog's bladed extensions pierced through structures like a hot knife through butter, tearing through homes, shops, and places of worship. Fires erupted, their flickering flames casting an eerie glow upon the devastation. The once bustling marketplace, now a twisted graveyard of shattered dreams and lost lives, became a chilling testament to the Magog's insatiable hunger for devastation. In its wake, the Magog left a trail of destruction and despair. The streets ran crimson with the blood of the innocent, their lives extinguished in an instant. The echoes of the Magog's laughter reverberated through the empty alleyways, a haunting reminder of the horrors that had befallen the city. The skyline, once adorned with majestic spires and glistening temples, now lay in ruins. Cracked and broken, the buildings seemed to weep for the lives they had once sheltered. The air hung heavy with the acrid scent of smoke, mingled with the unmistakable stench of death. This is it, Baron thinks with excitement and relief. Today I finally achieved my dreams. No longer will I have to live in that shithole Kataltakuk. No more having to put up with uncivilized dogs like Enkidu and Tarvan. With a princess as my bride, I rightfully joined the ranks of nobility, where I've always belonged. Finally clearing the debris from their path, Baron leads his caravan to the secluded city of Demanosy. What they find for them is nothing short of hell. No buildings remained erect. Bodies are reduced to blackened shells and ash. Not a soul has been left alive after the Magog has finished. No, Baron whispers. This was to be my promised land. I was to become a king in my own right. Your kingdom is ash, Nasria says, whispering into the captain's ear. You betrayed your people for promises of nothing. Baron ignores the Sakari's taunts, locating the residence of King Enmengal. He is horrified to find the remains of the king fused to his throne by intense heat. On the floor lies what was once the king's beautiful daughters, now nothing more than corpses. The eldest, Abelia, has had her head smashed beyond all recognition, while the youngest, Pakia, is scattered across the room in many gory fragments. Baron kneels beside the middle daughter, Turia, whose heart has been pierced by a blade of organic design. You were to be mine, Captain laments. This cannot be. Nasria follows Baron into the chamber. It seems as though our mutual need for each other has come to an end. I thank you for getting us out of our confinement, but now we must part ways. Wait, Baron says, standing up and trying to collect himself. We can negotiate a new agreement. You have nothing to offer me, Nasria says. You're a greedy and foolish man to have ever trusted me in the first place. My need for you ended the moment that you were able to get us out of the city and away from the Yazata. Surely there must be something that you need. I can help you, Baron pleads desperately. Nasria is disgusted by the human's pathetic begging. You have no dignity, and you have nothing I need. If I absorbed your power, I might actually end up weaker. Nasria moves quickly, slashing open the man's throat with his claws. Bolza enters the chamber a few seconds later, covered from head to toe with blood. The others have all been killed. Nasria nods in approval. We set up our camp here for now. The seclusion will ensure that no other humans bother us until the time is right for us to make our move. United under their former criminal-turned-leader, the liberated Sakari cheer loudly for Nasria as he emerges from the king's chambers, followed by Volza shortly after. No longer are we slaves to Marduk or Inyana. Not even the humans can claim us as property. We are now free to write our own destinies and forge our own paths. A radiant light pierced the sky. The ground trembled beneath the weight of anticipation, and a hushed silence fell upon the desolate landscape. The warriors of General Mikhail's choir had arrived, their ethereal presence transforming the very fabric of the world. The collective motion, the Yazata descended upon the battlefield, their wings of pure energy unfurling in a magnificent display. Each feather glimmered with a radiant white-gold hue, casting a celestial glow upon their surroundings. The air crackled with anticipation as their forms materialized, clad in resplendent armor that shimmered with the brilliance of the sun. Their armor, a testament to divine craftsmanship, was forged from the finest white gold, infused with intricate engravings that told the stories of celestial triumphs. It glowed with an inner light, as if touched by the very essence of the heavens themselves. Each Yazata's armor fit them perfectly, encasing their bodies in a protective embrace, blending strength and grace into their single ethereal form. Their wings, extensions of their celestial essence, were a sight to behold. Composed of pure energy, they radiated an iridescent brilliance that rivaled the brightest of stars. The feathers shimmered with shades of gold and silver, casting cascading beams of light upon the battlefield. With every beat, the wings released waves of divine energy, stirring the air with a sense of otherworldly power. The warriors took their positions. Their swords were unsheathed with purpose. These weapons, born of the rarest materials, were a testament to the divine artistry that created them. The blades were forged with a harmonious blend of diamond and steel, their edges honed to perfection. The swords emanated a pulsating aura, crackling with the very essence of celestial might. The last of the Yazata descended. Their collective power surged, creating a palpable aura that enveloped the battlefield. It was a force born of unwavering faith, an unyielding belief in the triumph of righteousness over darkness. Their presence alone seemed to challenge the very fabric of reality, shaking the foundations upon which the Magog had thrived. The surge in power resonated not only within the hearts of the angels, but reverberated through the natural world. The wind whispered ancient hymns of victory, carrying their melodies across the plains. The trees, their branches swayed in rhythm, seemed to bow in reverence to celestial warriors. Even the stars themselves shone with newfound brilliance, as if applauding the Yazata's arrival. As the Yazata prepared to engage in battle, their eyes blazed with unquenchable determination. Each warrior stood tall, their presence radiating an unyielding resolve that matched the weight of their armor. They had come to face the Magog, to reclaim the honor of their fallen brethren, and to restore balance to a world marred by sin. With swords raised high and wings aglow, the warriors of the first choir, the Palatinates, appeared before the Magog, distracting the beast from its destruction of mankind. Also known as the Powers, the Palatinates are the first choir's fiercest warriors, and rival even the elites of the Seventh in strength. General Mikhail's choir emanated a palpable aura of divine power. The very air thrummed with anticipation, as if the elements themselves held their breath in reverence. The wind picked up, carrying with it the scent of purity and righteousness. The Yazatas stood firm against their foe. Their combined energy formed a radiant barrier of light that surrounded them. It shimmered with a celestial hue, serving as a shield against the encroaching darkness. The ground beneath their feet pulsed with ethereal energy, lending strength to their every step. The battlefield, once a desolate wasteland of death and ruin, transformed under the influence of the angel's arrival. The scorched earth healed, mending its scars with a miraculous speed. Lush grass sprouted from the previously barren ground, breathing life into the once suffocated soil. The desolation that once blanketed the landscape yielded to a resurgence of life and hope. Plants, once trampled underfoot, sprang back to life, their vibrant green hues painting the scarred earth with a newfound vitality. Flowers blossom with unmatched beauty, their vibrant petals unfurling as if embracing the angel's presence. The weather, too, underwent a remarkable transformation. Dark storm clouds dispersed, replaced by a brilliant azure sky, adorned with wisps of golden light. Sunbeams pierced through the remaining clouds, casting a warm, gentle glow upon the battlefield. The air, once heavy with despair, became charged with an electric energy, crackling with the promise of divine intervention. Nature, too, responded to the angel's presence. Creatures emerged from their hidden sanctuaries, drawn to the divine energy that permeated the air. Birds soared overhead, their melodious songs harmonizing with the choir of angelic voices. A gentle breeze whispered through the trees, carrying with it a chorus of leaves rustling in joyous anticipation. The surge in power caused ripples in the fabric of reality itself. Waves of pure energy cascaded outward, shaking the very foundations of the world. The ground quivered with each beat of the Yazata's wings, resonating with a chorus of celestial might. The ethereal light emanating from their armor and wings cast dazzling reflections upon the battlefield, illuminating every blade of grass and every fallen comrade. General Mikhail, the embodiment of unwavering resolve, raised his sword high, its diamond and steel blade gleaming with an otherworldly brilliance. His voice rang out, commanding and infused with divine authority. "Fear not, brethren! The light of righteousness guides our blades, and the power of the heavens flows through our veins. We shall prevail!" The battlefield lay shrouded in an eerie silence, an ominous calm before the storm. The air crackled with an electric tension as the Seraphim General Mikhail stood at the forefront of his celestial army, their golden armor gleaming in the ethereal light. Mikhail's eyes burned with determination, his wings spread wide, radiating an aura of power and righteousness. His voice echoed with divine authority as he rallied his forces. "Warriors of the first choir, our purpose is clear. We stand against the embodiment of sin, the Magog, a creature of darkness that defies the laws of creation itself. But fear not. We are blessed with the divine light, and it is our duty to vanquish this abomination. Together we shall prevail." With a resounding battle cry, the warriors of the choir surged forward, their wings beating in perfect harmony. Their swords, infused with the collective strength of their conviction, glimmered with an intensified radiance. They moved as one, their movements fluid and precise, striking with unparalleled grace and power. With a deafening boom, the Yazata took flight, their energy wings beating in unison, creating gusts of wind that tore through the battlefield. Streams of brilliant light fired arrows streaked through the sky, arcing towards the Magog with unerring accuracy. As the choir descended upon the Magog, their onslaught began with an eruption of divine magic. Spells of purification and celestial fire erupted, cascading down upon the monstrous embodiment of sin. Waves of holy energy crashed against the Magog's form, but to no avail. The creature's flesh glowed momentarily, absorbing the onslaught and regenerating with unnerving speed, rendering their attacks futile. Undeterred, the angels engaged the Magog in close combat, their swords clashing against the twisted blades that sprouted from the creature's flesh. The battlefield became a whirlwind of light and darkness, the clash of angelic steel resonating through the air. The Magog moved with unnatural speed, striking out in a frenzied dance of violence, each blow imbued with malevolent force. The choir fought valiantly, their strikes guided by celestial grace. They weaved through the onslaught, evading the Magog's lethal attacks with angelic agility. But for every blow they landed, the creature retaliated, leaving trails of bloodshed and broken wings in its wake. Despite their prowess, the Yazata's numbers dwindled as the Magog's relentless assault proved too much to bear. Divine beasts summoned by the Seraphim joined the fray, lending their strength to the battle. Majestic lions, radiant phoenixes, and colossal serpents fought alongside the choir, their roars echoing across the battlefield. But even their formidable might seemed insufficient against the Magog's regenerative powers. The Magog, fueled by its insatiable hunger for destruction, unleashed devastating energy attacks, tearing through the heavens themselves. Explosions of celestial energy sent shockwaves rippling through the ranks of the choir, scattering Yazata like leaves in a tempest. Wings were torn asunder, bodies fell to the earth, and the once imposing army found itself on the precipice of defeat. Yet even in the face of overwhelming odds, General Mikhail remained unyielding. Bathed in a blinding radiance, he ascended to the heavens, calling upon the very essence of divinity. The sky crackled with power as Mikhail channeled the collective prayers of the choir, focusing them into a single cataclysmic attack. "Cease your mindless slaughter, Sin-Spawn," Mikhail orders. "You have made your point, and purged the humans of the depravity of Dwarka. You can now return to your slumber." The Magog glares at the Yazata, remembering the others led by Taniel attacking it earlier. One of Mikhail's captains, Yaniel, flashes behind the Magog, slashing across its back with his sword. The creature pivots, blocking the attack and retaliating with a fist through the chest. Yaniel screams, blood exploding from his mouth. The Magog withdraws its hand just in time to defend as a Yazata named Kulgil appears with a vertical slash. Mikhail watches, cautious not to attack too early and waste his opening. The Magog seems to react much quicker than the Yazata, leaving few opportunities. Kulgil is sent trailing across the sky by a burst of red energy, and the Magog growls, looking for any more enemies lying in wait. As the Yazata faced the embodiment of sin, their attacks were accompanied by the harmonious chorus of celestial hymns. Each swing of their swords sent shockwaves through the air, shattering the enemy's defenses and dispelling the lingering shadows. Their every movement embodied the virtues they stood for: valor, justice, and unwavering faith. Yaniel stands back up, holding his bleeding chest, and begins to chant as he visualizes the magical symbols of binding and surrounds his body with a bright glow. Mystical chains emerge from the ground, wrapping around the Magog's wrists and ankles. Mikhail hesitates, waiting to see for sure if the binding will be strong enough to hold the beast. The Magog struggles, but Kulgil moves forward with 3 other Yazata to reinforce Yaniel's binding with their own energy. Mikhail draws his sword, a sonic boom erupting shortly afterward. The release of the Arche's powerful weapon causes tremendous pressure to be exerted upon the mortal realm. The ground shakes violently, and even the other Yazata struggle to remain composed. "Cleanse, Osiesto." The mere swinging of his sword, Mikhail reduces everything before him to ash. Mountains crumble and lakes dry instantly. The Magog is unable to utter a sound in protest as it becomes a shadow before fading completely. A torrent of pure righteous light cascaded from the heavens, engulfing the Magog in an incandescent inferno. The earth trembled beneath the weight of divine wrath as the creature writhed in agony, its regeneration overwhelmed by the celestial onslaught. "Do not be fooled," the Arche cautions his soldiers. "That attack was not enough to destroy its evil." On cue, the Magog reforms behind the Yazata, cutting through several of them before they can turn in defense. A row of magical barriers are raised to hold the creature at bay long enough for the wounded to be dragged to safety. Mikhail prepares to swing again, but a long tendril extends from the Magog to wrap around his wrist. Using his free hand, Mikhail fires a burst of energy into the Magog's face and rips Osiesto free. With a mighty swing, the Arche cuts through the Magog, severing the beast in two. Immediately, Mikhail conjures magical flames and consumes the sections of the Magog in holy fire. From the smoke, the Magog reforms above the battlefield and grins devilishly within a black cloud possessing red eyes and sharp fangs. "Contain the beast!" Mikhail orders, performing a binding spell to thicken the air around the Magog. The other Yazata combine their efforts to conjure a magical container to draw the solidified Magog into. The container shakes violently as the Magog struggles to break free of its prison. With a large explosion, the container bursts, and the Yazata are all knocked to the ground from the feedback. Mikhail stabs his sword into the ground and drops to a knee, fighting the tremendous force exerted against him from the blast. The Magog is far more powerful than I imagined. All of us working as one still is not enough, Mikhail thinks. I do not know if we can stop this beast without the Potestas after all. Several Yazata raise a protective barrier around their general as he concentrates upon a complex spell that requires time to prepare. Weaving the sigils together in his mind, Mikhail creates a shining ball of light high above him in the air. The light rises until it passes through the protective barrier and bursts open, releasing a blinding flare of light energy in all directions. The Magog howls in pain, its body disintegrating. "That was amazing," Kulgil says. "What a powerful attack!" "Stay alert and do not celebrate yet," Mikhail cautions. "That was not enough to destroy the Magog completely." "Are you sure?" Kulgil asks. "I see no trace of that beast remaining." "Do not use your eyes," Mikhail says. "If you utilized all of your senses, you would be able to feel the Magog's presence still lingering around us." Kulgil closes his eyes, expanding his spiritual awareness outward. "Damn," he says, opening his eyes. "You're right. That beast has not been destroyed." "The Magog has taken an ethereal form. We will not be able to act against him until the creature solidifies." Moving as an invisible mist, the Magog surveys the battlefield and takes inventory of all its remaining opponents. Hardening a section of its body into a spear, the Magog impales Yanyil through the back. "No!" Mikhail shouts, moving towards his subordinate. Yanyil's eyes widen and his mouth gapes, unable to utter a sound. Divine essence oozes from the wound, staining the Magog's appendage in golden blood. "Behind you!" Kulgil shouts. Mikhail pivots, slashing his sword through the empty air. The Magog's ethereal form moves away, taunting the Seraphim. "Keep moving," Mikhail orders. "Do not stay in a single spot for too long." The Palatinates teleport around the area, continuously shifting positions so the Magog cannot launch any sneak attacks. Yanyil coughs, blood splattering out onto the earth. Digging his fingers into the dirt, he tries to lift himself up, but is unable to muster the strength. "Get him out of here!" Mikhail shouts, feeling Yanyil's life quickly slipping away. Two Yazata teleport to Yanyil's side, but the Magog has learned their habits and anticipates their action. As the Yazata appear, the Magog solidifies, two scythe-like organic blades, and cuts both warriors down. Mikhail quickly visualizes the symbols for water, and manipulates the energy around him in order to transform the vapor into ice. "Barfostra!" Mikhail shouts, throwing his hands out and changing all of the water in the air before him into ice. The ethereal Magog is frozen solid in place, unable to remain invisible any longer. "Now!" Mikhail shouts. "Take them to Obadiah for healing!" Three Yazata rush in, touching hands to the wounded and vanishing in an instant. The Magog begins to shake, vibrating its molecules in order to generate heat. Mikhail quickly stabs his sword into the ground and begins to chant, causing brightly glowing symbols to appear on the blade. "Izot's Glacio!" With a single swing, Mikhail hits the Magog with a wall of ice. The Magog continues to vibrate free from its prison, undeterred by the added icy mass. Mikhail presses the offensive, conjuring dozens of ice shards. The Arche pierces the ice block containing the Magog with the shards, each carved with a Yazatan sealing incantation. Even the sealing magic is ineffective against the Magog, and the creature raises its body temperature while continuously vibrating its molecules until the ice bursts apart and a plume of violet flame jets up into the sky. "It cannot be stopped," Kulgil whispers. "Do not lose heart. This battle has just begun," Mikhail says, his sword returning to normal. "It is far too early for us to give up." The Magog begins to collect energy into a dark orb. The sky blackens and streaks of lightning flash all around. The air temperature drops dramatically, causing the Yazata's auras to appear as waves of thick steam. "Stop the Magog from amassing that energy together at all costs," Mikhail orders. "That negative energy is already enough to destroy all the life remaining on this world." Kulgil hurls an orb of energy up at the dark mast, but it fizzes out and disappears before making contact. "That attack is already too strong." Mikhail concentrates, focusing his aura into his sword and causing the blade to shine brightly. With his other hand, the Arche slides off his Warner ring and releases his full power. Unrestrained, the Yata's energy explodes into a violent cyclone of light. "Fall back behind me!" Strong winds blow against the Yazata as the Magog's attack swells in size. Mikhail swings his sword, firing all of his energy all at once in a single beam. The ground splits and the Magog's form instantly fades into nothing. The creature's own energy ball is driven through the atmosphere and out into deep space before detonating in a blinding flash. Mikhail lowers his sword, panting with exhaustion. "Impossible," he whispers in horror as the Magog already begins to reform amidst the blast's wake. Grinning, the Magog suddenly flashes into the center of the Yazata formation, cutting them down with incredible brutality. Moving at many times the speed of light, the creature is too fast for even the most skillful of the warriors to track, and they are made sport of. Kulyil draws his sword and rushes, only to be slashed down the center and divided in two. Yazata are beheaded, cut into pieces, and strewn all about across the battlefield like refuse. Soon, Mikhail is the only one left standing before the sinful creature. The wounded moan and cry out in agony, but most are chillingly silent. The silence disturbs Mikhail the most. In seconds, his elite force has been decimated. "Damn you!" Mikhail growls. "You will pay for all the lives you have taken, beast!" The Magog grins, seemingly understanding the Yazata's threat, yet not worrying about it in the least. The creature raises its arm, summoning another dark orb, this one larger than the last. With unwavering determination etched upon his features, Mikhail raised his sword high, channeling the very essence of his being into a radiant attack, aimed at the heart of the Magog. A surge of energy coursed through Mikhail's veins, his connection to the divine amplifying his every movement. The air crackled with electric intensity as he drew upon the vast reservoirs of celestial power within him. His wings, ablaze with luminous light, expanded to their fullest extent, their radiant feathers shimmering in hues of gold and silver. With a thunderous roar, Mikhail unleashed his attack. A torrent of radiant energy erupted from his sword, forming a dazzling beam of brilliance that cut through the battlefield with unmatched force. It traveled in a straight line towards the Magog, leaving a trail of distorted reality in its wake. As the attack neared its target, the very fabric of time and space seemed to buckle under its sheer power. Reality itself contorted and twisted, creating a kaleidoscope of fragmented images that blurred and merged together in a mesmerizing dance. The ground beneath them quaked, trembling with the immense energy released by Mikhail's strike. The tremors rippled outward, affecting the very foundation of the world. Mountains trembled, their mighty peaks swaying as if in awe of the celestial spectacle unfolding before them. Rivers reversed their courses, flowing against gravity as the laws of nature momentarily bent to accommodate the immense power at play. The shock waves reverberated through the battlefield, sending debris and shattered remnants of the Magog's bladed limbs flying in all directions. The very air vibrated with a harmonious resonance, carrying the echoes of Mikhail's attack to the farthest reaches of the heavens. The Magog, caught in the path of Mikhail's onslaught, reeled under the pressure of radiant energy. Its twisted form writhed and contorted, its regenerative powers overwhelmed by the magnitude of the onslaught. Each strike of the divine beam sent shockwaves of pain through the creature's being, shattering its defenses and tearing through its malevolent essence. Within the distortion of time and space, Mikhail's attack seemed to last an eternity, even as it unfolded in the blink of an eye. The sheer intensity of its power left to all witnesses in awe, their breaths stolen by the sight of such celestial might made manifest. As the attack reached its zenith, a blinding explosion of light erupted, engulfing the battlefield in its brilliance. The sheer force of the impact sent shockwaves cascading outward, tearing through the remnants of the Magog's presence and reverberating through the very cosmos itself. Silence settled upon the battlefield. The distortion of time and space gradually subsided, leaving behind it a sense of serene stillness. The remnants of the Magog smoldered, its malevolence dissipating into nothingness. The ground, scarred by the cataclysmic forces unleashed, bore witness to the impact of Mikhail's transcendent attack. As the blinding light subsided, the battlefield revealed a scene of devastation. The Magog, though severely wounded, still moved with an unholy vitality, its regenerative powers defying the mightiest assault the choir could muster. General Mikhail's heart sank at the sight, but he refused to yield to despair. The surviving Yazata, their wings tattered and bodies battered, reassembled their ranks with grim determination. They formed a protective circle around Mikhail, their collective strength radiating with renewed resolve. With a nod from their indomitable leader, they launched their assault once more, their weapons glinting with renewed hope. Swords flashed through the air, seeking weak points in the Magog's defenses. The Yazata struck with precision, aiming for vital organs or targeting the twisted, bladed extensions that protruded from the creature's flesh. Yet no matter how deep the wounds they inflicted, the Magog's regeneration quickly closed the gaps, leaving only faint scars as evidence of their efforts. Divine magic surged forth again, swirling in dazzling patterns. Heavenly fire engulfed the Magog, its purifying flames attempting to sear away the essence of sin. But the creature's corrupted form resisted the cleansing power, and the flames merely danced across its flesh, leaving it relatively unscathed. The light-firing bows of the choir unleashed a relentless barrage of arrows, each one guided by the fervent prayers of the angels. They pierced the air with blinding speed, seeking to pierce the Magog's heart. Yet even as the arrows found their marks, the creature's regeneration swiftly expelled them, leaving no lasting damage. The divine beasts, though wearied from their previous assault, fought on. They lunged at the Magog with jaws wide, claws slashing, and wings beating with thunderous force. Their attacks were fierce and unyielding, creating momentary openings in the creature's defenses. However, these vulnerabilities were swiftly exploited by the Magog, turning the divine beast's own attacks against them with twisted counterattacks. General Mikhail, his wings glowing with a brilliant radiance, hovered over the battlefield, his gaze fixed upon the relentless foe. Drawing upon the very essence of his angelic heritage, he summoned forth an incandescent aura that enshrouded his form. His hands, a sword of pure divine energy, materialized, its blade shimmering with the power to sever darkness. Mikhail descended upon the Magog, his every strike a testament to his unwavering faith. He weaved through the onslaught of bladed attacks, parrying and countering with fluid grace. Each swing of his sword carried the weight of countless prayers and the hopes of his fallen brethren. Blows rained down upon the Magog, the clash of steel resounding through the air like a tolling of a celestial bell. The general's strikes were precise and powerful, aiming for the core of the creature's being. Yet with each strike the Magog's regenerative powers flared to life, repairing the damage in a perverse display of resilience. The choir fought with the fervor born of righteousness, refusing to surrender to the abomination that defied their purpose. They poured their remaining strength into each attack, their determination unyielding. But even as the battle waged, the Magog's strength seemed unabated. Its bladed attacks continued to cut through the angel's defenses, claiming lives with merciless efficiency. Energy blasts erupted from its form, decimating entire ranks of the choir, leaving behind a haunting silence where the voices once resonated. The land beneath them trembled, cracks forming like veins in the earth. A palpable sense of despair settled over the battlefield, the weight of the countless lives lost pressing upon the hearts of the surviving Yazata. General Mikhail's wings, once radiant with divine light, faded in their brightness with fatigue, but his spirit remained unbroken. Gritting their teeth, the choir pressed forward, their attacks becoming more desperate and yet more determined. They coordinated their strikes, seeking to overwhelm the Magog with a barrage of simultaneous assaults. Swords danced through the air, leaving trails of holy light in their wake as the angels launched a synchronized offensive. The celestial warriors encircled the Magog, their movements calculated and precise. They struck from all directions, creating a maelstrom of steel and divine energy. The air crackled with the clash of blades, the explosive force of impact sending shockwaves rippling through the ground. Each ounce of the choir's power was poured into their attacks. Their blows were fueled by their unwavering faith, their love for creation, and their unyielding loyalty to the divine order. Yet for all their effort, the Magog proved to be an insurmountable force. Its regenerative abilities worked tirelessly, mending every wound inflicted upon its corrupted flesh. The creature's bladed extensions sliced through the ranks of the angels, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Blood stained the ground as celestial bodies fell, their wings extinguished, their souls ascending to the heavens. General Mikhail, his determination undeterred, called upon the very essence of his being. His voice reverberated through the battlefield, a beacon of unwavering resolve. With a prayer on his lips, he unleashed a torrent of divine energy, a devastating wave of righteous power. The blast surged towards the Magog, rippling through the air like a comet. The heavens themselves seemed to tremble as the force of Mikhail's attack collided with the creature's twisted form. The impact created a shockwave that reverberated across the battlefield, shattering the ground beneath them. For a moment, a ray of hope pierced through the despair. The Magog staggered, its regeneration momentarily disrupted by the sheer force of the assault. But before the Yazata could celebrate, the creature's form shimmered, as if defiance of reality itself. Its wounds closed, its shattered form piecing back together, and its malevolent aura intensified. In a surge of renewed aggression, the Magog unleashed a torrent of energy blasts, each one more potent than the last. The Yazata fought valiantly, their wings battered, but their resolve unbroken. They weaved through the assault, dodging, blocking, and retaliating with desperate strikes. The battlefield became a chaotic symphony of light and darkness, a whirlwind of violence and divine fury. The choir's numbers dwindled, their ranks thinning as the Magog's assault proved too overwhelming. Yet amidst the devastation, the angels fought on, their unwavering spirit a testament to their divine purpose. General Mikhail, his armor cracked and scorched, pushed his exhausted body to its limits. With his final surge of strength, he launched himself at the Magog, his sword gleaming with a blinding radiance. Every ounce of his being focused on one decisive strike, the accumulation of his faith and the weight of his responsibility. The clash between Mikhail and the Magog resonated through the heavens. Their powers collided, their energies intertwined in a cataclysmic clash of light and darkness. The battlefield quaked beneath them, the ground splitting apart as their titanic struggle shook the very foundation of existence. But even Mikhail's strongest attacks could not extinguish the Magog's abominable existence. The Magog seemed to draw strength from the desperation that permeated the air. Its wounds, though severe, closed with unsettling speed, its regenerative powers defying the limits of mortal comprehension. The Yazata watched in disbelief as their hopes dwindled, replaced by a deepening sense of dread. Undeterred by the Magog's resilience, General Mikhail refused to relent. He called upon the remnants of his depleted energy, tapping into the very essence of his celestial heritage. The air crackled with raw power as his wings blazoned again with radiant light, his eyes shining with unwavering determination. With a primal roar, Mikhail unleashed a devastating assault. His strikes fueled by the collective prayers of the choir, his sword carved through the air with blinding speed, each swing carrying the weight of countless fallen angels. The Magog twisted and writhed, its blade extensions slashing at Mikhail in a desperate bid for survival. The battlefield became a tempest of fury and chaos. The clash of Mikhail's sword against the Magog's bladed appendages created sparks that danced through the air, illuminating the grim faces of the remaining Yazata. They fought alongside their leader, their bodies bruised and battered, their wings tattered and torn, but their spirits unbroken. The Magog, sensing its imminent demise, unleashed its most devastating attack yet. Energy surged from its core, pulsating through its twisted form. The ground trembled beneath its malevolent power as an inferno of dark energy consumed its being. The blast tore through the battlefield, disintegrating everything in its path. The choir, their strength waning, desperately sought cover, shielding themselves with their tattered wings and the last shreds of hope. The devastating energy swept across the battlefield, reducing the once pristine landscape to a desolate wasteland. The air hung heavy with the stench of charred earth and the sorrow of lost lives. As the dust settled, General Mikhail emerged from the wreckage, his form battered but his spirit unyielding. His wings flickered, barely able to manifest. Yet the fire in his eyes burned brighter than ever, a testament to his unrelenting resolve. With a heavy heart, Mikhail surveyed the aftermath of the battle. The once glorious choir had been decimated, their bodies strewn across the scarred battlefield. The Magog, though gravely wounded, still pulsed with a sinister energy, its regeneration slowly mending its broken form. Mikhail took a deep breath, his voice resonating with a mixture of grief and determination. Our purpose remains steadfast, and our faith unshaken. We will rise. We shall not falter. We will continue the fight until the light prevails. With a renewed sense of purpose, the surviving Yazda gathered around their leader, their wings forming a protective shield. Their hearts were heavy with loss, but their resolve burned like a beacon in the night. They had witnessed the true embodiment of sin, faced unimaginable horrors, and yet they stood united, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Without warning, the ground beneath the Yazda rumbled with an otherworldly power. The air crackled with dark energy, and a sinister presence filled the atmosphere. In a chilling display of malevolence, the Magog emerged from the shadows, its form twisted and grotesque, its eyes gleaming with a wicked intelligence. The surviving warriors, caught off guard by the sudden resurgence of their foe, found themselves at a terrible disadvantage. Panic rippled through their ranks. Their once unyielding resolve wavered in the face of this unforeseen onslaught. They scrambled to regroup, their wings beating frantically as they desperately sought a way to counter the Magog's vicious assault. But the creature wasted no time. It lunged at the Yazda with unparalleled ferocity, its bladed extension slicing through the air with deadly precision. Blood stained the ground as the Magog's attacks found their marks, leaving a trail of fallen warriors in its wake. The once harmonious choir had been reduced to a discordant symphony of pain and anguish. The Magog's regeneration proved to be its greatest weapon. With every strike it landed, wounds quickly closed, leaving behind nothing but fleeting traces of damage. Its twisted flesh seemed to mock the angels' efforts, as if taunting them with the futility of their struggle. General Mikhail, his wings heavy with sorrow, fought with every ounce of his strength. His sword clashed against the Magog's bladed limbs, but the creature's sheer brutality overwhelmed him. The general's strikes, once infused with unwavering resolve, now faltered against the relentless onslaught. The weight of the choir's demise bore down upon him, threatening to extinguish the flame of hope within his heart. Desperation seeped into the surviving Yazda's actions as they fought for their lives. Their attacks became erratic, lacking the coordinated precision they once possessed. Each swing of their weapons carried the weight of their fallen brethren. A desperate plea for salvation in the face of overwhelming darkness. But the Magog's regenerative powers nullified their efforts, rendering their strikes inconsequential in the grand scheme of the battle. The once brave warriors of the choir now found themselves prey to the Magog's unrelenting assault. Their bodies, once adorned in gleaming armor, were now battered and broken. The ground became a crimson tapestry, painted with the sacrifice of the fallen. Their cries of pain and anguish mingled with the sounds of clashing blades, a mournful dirge that echoed across the desolate battlefield. The Magog's brutality knew no bounds. It tore through the surviving Yazda with terrifying speed, its bladed extensions becoming an inexorable whirlwind of death. The air became heavy with the scent of blood and the haunting silence of shattered hope. The once resilient spirits of the choir now flickered like dying embers, threatened to be extinguished by the overwhelming darkness. General Mikhail, bloodied and weary, fought on against all odds. Yet in the face of despair, his resolve remained unbroken. With a final surge of determination, he unleashed a desperate barrage of attacks, his sword striking with the last flicker of his divine power. But it was in vain. Magog's regeneration proved insurmountable, healing each wound as quickly as it was inflicted. The creature reveled in the suffering it caused. relishing the agony of the Yazata and savoring every drop of despair that permeated the battlefield. With each passing moment, the surviving Yazata grew weaker. Their bodies, battered and broken, struggled to withstand the relentless onslaught. Desperation mingled with exhaustion, and their once coordinated efforts dissolved into chaotic struggle for survival. General Mikhail, his strength waning, refused to succumb to despair. With a defiant cry, he launched himself at the Magog once again, his sword slashing through the air in a desperate attempt to find a weakness. The Magog, its twisted form seemingly invincible, proved impervious to Mikhail's valiant strikes. It countered with savage force, its bladed limbs striking with unparalleled speed and precision. The general's armor offered little protection against the onslaught, and each blow sent waves of pain coursing through his body. The Magog unleashed a final burst of energy, a catastrophic explosion that engulfed the remaining Yazata. The blast tore through their ranks, obliterating all in its path. The battlefield transformed into a scene of devastation, strewn with the lifeless bodies of the choir. General Mikhail, the last bastion of hope, lay battered and broken amidst the ruin. His body trembled with pain, his spirit shaken to its core. The weight of failure settled upon him, threatening to extinguish the flame of righteousness that burned within his soul. The Magog loomed over the fallen general, its victory assured. It reveled in the carnage. Its monstrous form pulsated with an aura of triumph. Its malevolent laughter echoed through the desolate battlefield, a chilling testament to the depths of its depravity. In the face of overwhelming defeat, a spark of defiance flickered within Mikhail's eyes. Its voice, though strained and weakened, resonated with unwavering resolve. Though we may fall, the light shall never be extinguished. Even in darkness, hope endures. The battle is not over. The last ounce of its strength, General Mikhail mustered a final prayer, a plea for divine intervention. The heavens responded, and a blinding light enveloped the battlefield. An ethereal presence descended, casting a radiant glow upon the fallen. In that moment, a celestial army materialized, their forms shining with divine energy. Shining like the stars themselves, they encircled Magog, their swords gleaming with righteous fury. With a united force, they launched a devastating assault, overwhelming the creature with their sheer might. The Magog, caught off guard by this unforeseen reinforcement, faltered under the weight of the celestial onslaught. Its regenerative powers, once seemingly invincible, proved insufficient against the combined strength of the celestial host. With each strike, the creature's twisted form weakened, its vitality drained with every passing moment. It's burned up a tremendous amount of its energy, and for the first time in its existence, mortal-like feelings of fear creep into its mind. A flash of light streaks through the air, and the Magog's eyes widen in surprise as its body slides apart diagonally across the center. The Magog instinctively releases dozens of bursts of energy to buy it the time to regenerate. Healed from their previous injuries, Aniel and the other Palatinates deflect the Magog's attacks into the sky with energy blasts of their own. The Yazata bind the Magog's halves with magical chains, and Mikhail seizes the chance, teleporting to the Magog and producing the Solus Clamo. The heat of a star swirls within the orb, raging like a celestial fire. Just as Mikhail is about to release the attack, the Magog screams and unleashes a sonic wave that knocks all of the Yazata back and breaks their concentration. The Magog quickly shatters the chains binding it, and grabs Mikhail by the wrists, crushing his bones. Mikhail cries out in agony, dropping the Solus. The casing cracks, and energy begins to leak outward like golden steam. The Magog backhands Mikhail away and reaches down to grab the dropped orb. The Yazata of the first choir reform their line and begin to chant. But the Magog merely grins and morphs a finger into a long blade, penetrating the crack on the Solus and absorbing its power into itself. Supercharged with stellar energy, the Magog strobes with wild flashes of energy and releases a blast that completely disintegrates all of the Yazata except for Mikhail. Mikhail can only watch in horror from the ground as many of his soldiers are killed in an instant. Only the Arche's strength is enough to survive the intense energy of the soulless, boosted Magog. "I failed," Mikhail whispers. "I sought to buy humanity time and weaken or defeat the Magog, but I have only made the creature more powerful." For his comrades, Mikhail draws his angelic sword and rushes the Magog, dodging several blasts with Shunkonido before scoring a solid diagonal slash that peels open the creature's chest several inches. The Magog hisses in irritation, slapping the Arche Seraphim across the face and knocking him backward. Mikhail's chest heaves as he comes to a stop many feet away. Dirt is piled up behind his heels, and the force from Magog's blow still pains him. The Magog grins, a deep gash across his chest closing up. Mikhail rushes the creature again, trying to hit it from every angle with Shunkonido. Somehow, the Magog's speed and instincts have increased such that it can anticipate Mikhail's movements and intercept him each time. When attack does manage to connect, it is only a glancing blow. As time progresses, the Magog becomes stronger, and Mikhail begins to regret not conceding with Taniel that the Potesta should be deployed immediately. He makes up his mind that if he survives, he will stand before the judges and withdraw his petition for Taniel's arrest and pardon his actions. "Agianestra! Ahura!" Mikhail screams, combusting the Magog in divine flames. "Garuda Nostra! Ahura!" A cyclone erupts around the Magog, battering it with multiple 100-mile-an-hour winds. Slashing an arm through the wind, the Magog ends the spells. The Magog howls, sending an equally powerful cyclone from its mouth into Mikhail. The Serum dodges with Shunkonido, but as soon as he reappears, a second cyclone is already upon him. The wind slams into Mikhail, propelling him backwards. He fights to pull himself free from the cyclone, but the force of the gale holds him tight. The Magog runs alongside him, catching up quickly and punching the Serum in the face. Mikhail crashes into the side of a mountain, bringing it down atop him, and shaking the entire planet. Before the Yazda can free himself from the rubble, the Magog releases a burst of red energy from its mouth and consumes the wrecked mountain in a violent inferno. The ground disappears as the energy fades, leaving behind a several-mile-wide hole in the earth that seemingly extends without end down into the depths. Satisfied, the Magog looks around until it settles in the direction of the nearest human settlement. A small village of stone farmers, the city digs and cuts stones used in the surrounding cities for their streets and temples. The Magog flies towards the village, but is suddenly kicked out of the air. Mikhail drops to the ground, his armor tattered and burnt. The Magog crashes into an impact crater, but is almost instantly back on its feet. Mikhail tries to bind the creature with magical restraints, but it cuts through the spells with the mere wave of a hand. "Your power is phenomenal, beast. I was not this tried even when I defeated Satanael, or when we together fought Sane," Mikhail says. Magog cocks its head, unable to understand the Yazata's words. The creature does not use language. Speech is nothing more than a series of strange noises to it. "Kyoktekso swim!" Mikhail screams, ripping up the trees still remaining erect, and sending them like spears towards the Magog. Riding atop each tree appears an elemental spirit which casts its own attack at point-blank range. The Magog slashes through the trees, but is hit by several of the elemental blasts and is reduced to ash. A cloud of smoke congregates above Mikhail and forms into the Magog. Dropping down at him, the Magog's arm transforms into replicas of Mikhail's sword. The Serum erects a protective barrier of energy, but the swords easily cut through and bite into Mikhail's chest. The Yazata feels the Nova heat from the swords and knows he has been badly cut. The bright light of his existence leaks out and he drops to a knee. The Magog attacks again, coming down with the sword arms, but is blocked by the diamond swords of several Yazata, who suddenly teleport into the battle from seemingly nowhere. The swords crack and splinter, but enough of them together are able to defuse the Magog's force, and slow it enough for Mikhail to teleport step to safety. "Thank you, brothers," Mikhail says, holding his hands against his bleeding chest. Divine light radiates from the wound and drains his existence. "Go heal yourself. We will handle the creature until you return," says Phanuel, the general of the 9th Choir. In the wake of the angel's arrival, a profound sense of hope filled the hearts of those who still fought. The surviving soldiers, weary and battered, found renewed strength coursing through their veins. Their spirits lifted, inspired by the awe-inspiring sight before them. It was as if the Yazata had breathed life back into their tired souls, instilling within the belief that victory was still within reach. The Arche generals of the 6th, 8th, and 9th Choirs stand before the Magog, blocking it from Mikhail. Their subordinates teleport the wounded of the 1st Choir to safety for healing. For many, rescue is too late. "I will rejoin you swiftly," Mikhail replies, vanishing in an instant to a safe distance to perform Dukan Helez. The Magog growls as the only worthy opponent it has encountered in this world has run away. "Do not be upset. We will keep you entertained until he returns," Phanuel says. The Arche hurl their chakrams at the Magog, which leaps above the discs. While in the air, the creature becomes a target for the combined assault of the other Yazata. Each general unleashes a beam of Agnestra Ahura fire at the Magog, but it evades by contorting its body into a flip. The Magog lands and quickly rushes the Yazata, slashing each with fiery sword arms. Divine light spills from deep wounds, and the 3 Arche generals collapse to the ground simultaneously. The Magog howls with triumph as the Yazata are no match for its tremendous power. "It is much stronger this time," Phanuel coughs, blood running down his forehead and from the wounds on his chest. He holds a hand against himself, healing the damage with Dukan Helez magic. Raphael shrugs. "I've never had the displeasure of fighting this creature before. For that I am very thankful. Had I may not have lived this long." Still fueled by the Solus Clamo, the Magog pulsates with celestial energy. "Do you have any strategies against this thing?" Raphael asks. The 7th and 1st Choirs were both unable to stop the Magog. "None of us are forces known for our fighting prowess," Phanuel replies. Raphael sighs loudly. "That makes me feel much better." "You should only be considering the idea of fighting against that creature. The only hope Kishar has remaining is the immediate deployment of the Potestas. Nothing will survive the destruction they will bring. All mortal life will be lost. Better to kill one world to save all the rest. We all know the Magog will never stop. All life in the universe will be wiped out." "There must be some other way," Raphael whispers, unwilling to accept that the human world is already lost. "Somewhere out there in the vast universe, there must exist a warrior stronger than the Magog. We're not omniscient. There are limits to our sight. We cannot know for sure that the Potestas are the only way." "I'm sorry," Phanuel says. "There was no one out there. The Magog is the absolute strongest. Short of total planetary annihilation, that creature will not be stopped." Enkidu fights to remain conscious. His body is covered in bruises and bloodstains from the repeated beatings of the enhanced golem. Infused with both sin and spirit, the creature not only evades his every attack, but also fights back with a ferocity that he cannot seem to match. He leaps backward, narrowly avoiding the boulder-sized fists of the golem. Fueled by the entire lifetimes of unforgivable sins of thievery, lying, and debauchery of only 2 men, the conjurer is still stronger than any single mortal man alive. Enkidu cannot fathom the full power of the Magog, when millions of souls have contributed to its strength. A fist manages to clip the warrior, knocking him to the ground. The golem tries to follow through with a double-fisted smash, but Enkidu rolls out of the way and back up to his feet. As soon as he rises, Enkidu is nailed by a hard blow to the center of his chest. "The Magog is millions of times stronger than this," Doyle shouts. "You must be able to utilize the Brahmastra at will and dispatch weaker foes in a single attack." Enkidu holds his chest, blood running from the corners of his mouth. The golem charges, attacking with wild swings. Enkidu dodges, but his movements are still slowed due to the pain and fatigue. Hoyles becomes frustrated, summoning 3 more souls from hell and exercising their sin into the golem to strengthen it further. Enkidu is caught by the conjurer, taking several hard punches to the face. He tries to retaliate, but his attacks have no effect. "Only the Brahmastra will defeat the Magog. You must master the ability now," Doyle shouts. "Use nothing else but the Brahmastra until the technique becomes like breathing for you." Enkidu concentrates, covering his fists with the glowing blue energy of his purification ability. As the creature attacks, Enkidu meets its fist with his own and causes the entire conjurer to explode into a shower of dirt and small rocks. Hoyles conjures another golem, powering it with the sins of 10 men and women. "You do not have the time to rest. Continue." Screaming, Enkidu charges the beast and ducks beneath a lumbering punch to deliver an uppercut that immediately exorcises and destroys the golem. 2 more golems materialize, giving the man no chance to catch his breath. He dodges the golem's attacks, trying to counter, but is unable. Growing fatigued, Enkidu is unable to land a hit on the newest opponents. The blue glow of his focused energy begins to flicker as it wanes. "Push through this," Doyle shouts. "The Magog will not give you the time to recover." Enkidu strains, forcing his body to remain standing even though his stamina is near 0. As Enkidu stood amidst the ethereal beauty of Halavan, his newfound understanding illuminated his being. With a deep breath, he released the energy that surged within him, allowing it to disperse and blend with the divine energy that permeated the realm. In that moment, a remarkable transformation began to unfold. As the energy left his body, Enkidu felt a surge of vitality coursing through him. His senses heightened, his muscles pulsated with newfound strength, and his spirit resonated with a radiant glow. The divine energy that surrounded him mingled with his own essence, infusing him with a power that transcended his mortal form. His physical form underwent subtle yet profound changes. His eyes, once filled with determination, now shimmered with an otherworldly light. His skin seemed to radiate a subtle luminosity as if touched by celestial fire. Threads of divine energy coursed through his veins, illuminating his every movement and bestowing him with a regal aura. With this infusion of divine energy, Enkidu became more than a mere mortal. He became a vessel of righteous power, capable of harnessing the forces of good to combat the darkness that plagued the realms. The negative energies that once clung to his surroundings were repelled by his very presence, unable to withstand the purity and strength of his divine energy. Enkidu's newfound power enabled him to neutralize the malevolent forces that sought to bestow chaos and destruction. With a single touch, he could dispel negative energy and restore balance. His strikes became imbued with the essence of righteousness, capable of piercing through evil and shattering the foundations of darkness. Haida, Lianlim, and Adonai stare in astonishment at Enkidu's transformation. In their own souls, they can feel a warm, burning sensation, as if just being near the man in this state eradicates all traces of impure thoughts, guilt, fear, hatred, and animosity. White, fire-like divine energy radiates from Enkidu's eyes, and steam rises from his muscular form. His connection to the divine energy of Halavan bestowed upon Enkidu a profound sense of purpose. He became a beacon of hope, a warrior of light, capable of vanquishing the most formidable adversaries. With each step he walked the path of righteousness, leaving trails of divine energy in his wake, cleansing and purifying the world around him. The blue glow of Enkidu's aura brightens, and he darts past the golems, striking each once as he moves. The golems explode, and Enkidu drops to a knee, panting with exhaustion. The divine energy vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving the man completely mortal, and vulnerable once more. "You did it!" Lanlam shouts. "That was surely angelic power you just manifested. The Magog's days are now numbered." Hoyle shakes his head. It is reassuring to see progress, but Enkidu is far from ready to face the Magog again. If he cannot control that energy and remain tapped into those divine energies for the remainder of the fight, he will burn out before being able to end that creature and be left as vulnerable as before his training began. As Hoyles observed Enkidu's progress, a solemn weight settled upon his celestial countenance. His eyes, pools of wisdom and compassion, flickered with a mix of trepidation and determination. The Magog, a force of unfathomable darkness and destruction, loomed in the corners of Hoyle's thoughts, its vile presence casting a long shadow over their endeavors. Hoyles understood the magnitude of the challenge that lay ahead. The Magog's relentless regeneration, formidable strength, and merciless brutality struck fear into the hearts of even the most seasoned warriors. Its very essence was entwined with the embodiment of sin, a malevolence that threatened to consume all that was pure and sacred. Yet in the depths of Hoyle's being a glimmer of hope persisted. He believed that Enkidu, with his dormant angelic heritage, possessed the potential to stand against the Magog. Hoyle saw in him the flicker of a divine flame, waiting to be ignited into an inferno of righteous fury. It was this hope that fueled Hoyle's unwavering dedication to his protege. However, alongside this hope, doubts gnawed at Hoyle's thoughts. He questioned whether Enkidu's mortal frame would be able to withstand the immense power required to confront such a malevolent force. Hoyles feared that the weight of the angelic heritage within Enkidu might be too overwhelming, threatening to consume him in a maelstrom of celestial energy. These thoughts weighed heavily on Hoyle's heart, for he cared deeply for Enkidu's well-being. He recognizes the fragility of the human spirit and the potential dangers of delving into the realm of angels. Hoyles yearned to protect Enkidu from the perils that lay ahead, to shield him from the searing touch of the Magog's darkness. Yet despite his fears and doubts, Hoyles knew that this battle could not be won without harnessing the latent power within Enkidu. The Celestial Watcher believed in the indomitable spirit of humanity, and the capacity for mortals to transcend their limitations and rise above adversity. He saw in Enkidu resilience and a purity of heart that could channel the very essence of angelic power. Hoyles treaded the fine line between caution and encouragement, guiding Enkidu with unwavering patience. He sought to temper the flame within his protege, nurturing his innate connection to the divine while shielding him from the overwhelming torrent of celestial energy. Hoyles understood that Enkidu's success relied not only on raw power, but on the balance of body, mind, and soul. In the depths of his being, Hoyle wrestled with his own doubts, questioning whether he had made the right choice in training Enkidu for this perilous task. But in the face of the Magog's imminent threat, Hoyles knew that there was no other option. He had to put his faith in Enkidu's untapped potential, trusting that the human warrior could rise above his mortal limitations and become a beacon of hope in the face of darkness. With a heavy heart and a flicker of hope, Hoyles continued to guide Enkidu, knowing that the ultimate battle against the Magog would test not only their physical strength, but also the depths of their resolve and the purity of their hearts. "He's right," Enkidu says, standing back up. "It is not enough. I must continue training. I cannot rest until I have mastered this power." Hoyle summons more golems to resume their training. "While you still remember what it feels like to have that energy flowing within you, push yourself even further and go beyond the limits of your mortal shell." Enkidu stood at the precipice of destiny. His eyes gazed upon the chaotic world ravaged by the horrors of human existence. He had witnessed firsthand the depths of depravity, the darkness that dwelled within the hearts of men. The evil that had birthed the Magog was a testament to the capacity for cruelty and destruction that humanity possessed. And yet, despite the grim realities that surrounded him, Enkidu's resolve burned with an unwavering flame. He believed in the inherent goodness buried within the depths of human souls, in the potential for redemption and salvation. The weight of the world's suffering bore down upon him, but he refused to succumb to despair. Enkidu's desire to save the world from the clutches of the Magog stemmed from a profound sense of duty, compassion, and and an unshakable belief in the power of love. He understood that the Magog was the manifestation of the darkest aspects of humanity, a reflection of their sins and transgressions. He saw the suffering inflicted upon the innocent, and the desperate cries for deliverance, and it ignited a fire within him that refused to be extinguished. The horrors he had witnessed only served to strengthen his resolve. The twisted faces of despair, the scars etched upon broken lives. Each torment burned itself deep into Enkidu's heart. He carried within him the weight of their pain, their anguish, and their shattered dreams. It fueled his determination to rise above the darkness that threatened to consume them all. Enkidu understood that the path he had chosen was fraught with danger. He is aware of the magnitude of the Magog's power, its ability to effortlessly annihilate all in its path. But he knew to stand idly by would be an act of betrayal, a relinquishment of the responsibility he felt towards his fellow humans. He couldn't bear the thought of letting them suffer under the shadow of the Magog's tyranny. With every fiber of his being, Enkidu embraced his purpose, channeling the strength of his resolve to face the darkness head-on. He believed that love and compassion could be potent weapons against the forces of evil. He saw himself as a vessel for hope, a beacon of light in a world shrouded by despair. Enkidu's determination to save the world was not born out of a sense of grandiosity or self-righteousness. It emerged from a place of humility, an understanding of his own flaws, and the recognition that he too was capable of darkness. It was precisely because of this self-awareness that he refused to succumb to despair, or give in to the malevolence that threatened to consume him. He carried within him the belief that one act of kindness, one act of selflessness, could tip the scales in favor of righteousness. Enkidu knew that saving the world from the Magog was a monumental task, but he refused to be overwhelmed by the magnitude of the challenge. He trusted in the power of unity and the collective strength of those who dared to resist the darkness. With an unyielding spirit and a heart aflame with compassion, Enkidu embarked on this quest. He knew that the path ahead would be treacherous, that he would face unimaginable hardships and witness further atrocities, but his unwavering resolve remained steadfast, rooted in the belief that by stopping the Magog, he could inspire a change within humanity itself. Doyle and the others watch Enkidu fight on against the golems, and himself with amazement. The man's determination and will is stronger than ever. He can do this, the Yazata thinks. I just know he can.